Hello team, how's it going? Welcome to a new video and welcome to Combat Ready HQ, where we're going to be discussing, is it hard to join the British Army? That's application, training and trade training, and then getting yourself into phase 3, being a regular soldier. Before we do that though, head over to www.combatreadyhq.co.uk to check out our 4 coffee blends and some of our merch such as t-shirts and caps, and head over to Combat Fuel for the best supplements on the market and that are 100% safe for you to use. Everyone has used them through a CDT, a compulsory drug test. They have passed. They've never had one failure. So go and check them out at combatfuel.co.uk. Getting into the video then, the hardest part of most probably joining the British Army is the application process. That's not because filling out an application form is hard. That's not because selection process is hard. It's just hard to get through with Capita. When I joined, and a lot of my former colleagues when I was in the Army, I joined back in 2006, you could get a start date within around 3 months of application being submitted, and then I was actually starting my first day in the British Army within 6 months. Now you're most probably looking at 12 to 18 months or even longer, or you'll just get turned away for some stupid reason that happened years ago when you was a child. But putting that aside, joining the British Army isn't actually that hard. You can head down to your Army Careers Office, the closest one to you if you've got one, and you can speak to serving soldiers or Marines, Navy, RAF if you do want to join another service, and they can give you as much information on the sort of job role you're looking to join, or they can give you ideas on the jobs that are out there. You can also, if you want to, head over to the British Army website, which will give you all the information you need on basically all the different job roles, the units, the corps, the physical assessments you need to pass to enter, and any sort of education you need. So whether that's GCSEs, A levels, etc. If you're going for a more technical trade, you can find all that information on the British Army website. So make sure you do head over there first, one to research roles and one to find out what sort of qualifications and fitness requirements you need to get into that job role. Also, it'll discuss current deployments, where have they been in the past, where are they located. There's a whole host of information that you need is over on the British Army website. So you've got the application, get that in. You've then got selection. Selection is not hard at all. There's no pressure put on you. It's not arduous. You do your standard sort of fitness requirements, your mid-thigh pull, beep test, the med ball throw. You do some command tasks, you'll have a brief, a presentation, you'll have an interview, you may have to give some sort of information back on a brief that you received. That's about as hard as it gets. You get a full night's sleep, you're not up at stupid o'clock, you don't do anything in the night, you don't get beasted, right? And then you have obviously your medical. Nothing hard about that apart from an older guy cupping your balls and asking you to cough. The selection process is out of the way. Go through all of that. You need to do a security check through Capita. That's if they actually do it. And then you finally get your start date, okay? That takes longer than it should, but there's nothing hard about it. So first of all, if you're thinking about joining the military, just get your application form in and start training. Now, all you need to do is get a good fitness plan in place as well, so you can pass selection and then you're ready for phase 1 training, or the Soldier Academy as they call it now. Right, getting into your initial training, okay, whether that's Winchester, Purbright, Harrogate or Catterick. Yes, it's hard, but not as hard as you think. Unless you're going for, say, Parachute Regiment or Royal Marine Commando, it's nowhere near as hard as you think. Para-Reg get absolutely thrashed. There's such a high standard that they have to hold, and they still hold to this day. They do lose a lot of people through injury or just like DORing or transferring because they can't keep up. But actual standard sort of regular soldiers, whether that's Infanteers, Royal Armoured Corps, going HCAV, signals, artillery, medics, whatever it is, it's actually not too hard. Most probably the hardest bit at first is obviously just the sort of shock and awe of military life. They sort of need to break you down from your old civilian ways and build you back up as a disciplined individual. So First of all, a lot of you will be quite young, used to waking up late, parents doing everything for you. You're going to be getting up 5-6 o'clock in the morning. You're going to be working all day, working into the night, especially the first few weeks, even 6 weeks, to around 10 o'clock at night. There's going to be obviously ironing your own kits, packing your own kits, cleaning your room inspections every morning. So you're going to be very tired, and there's going to be a lot of information thrown at you. So from that point, that is hard in itself, but it's not hard enough where you have to worry, because so many people pass, so many people get through each year, thousands of people get through each year, even ones that most probably shouldn't. So in that in itself, it's a steep learning curve. It's obviously out of your comfort zone, not what you're used to. So it's hard, 5-6 out of 10, but it's not to the point where it's pretty much near impossible, only a few percentage you're getting through. Physical training, in initial training, pretty easy. If I do say, if you do prior preparation and planning, you get a fitness program in place. As soon as you get your application form in, you know the standards you need to hit, and you train towards those standards, you're going to have no issues at all. Sometimes you're going to do a hard sort of combat sort of PT session. You may do the odd hard tab, tactical advance into battle. You'll do a bit of bayonet training, which is hard. A lot of the circuits now are sort of designed around strength and conditioning. So it's all about increasing strength, building on that conditioning, making you a better sort of tactical athlete. But they're not really that hard. You do the odd arduous PT session. The runs, honestly, are not as fast as you think if you train before. Once again, nowhere near impossible. Thousands of people do it, all shapes and sizes, all fitness abilities. Swimming is really not that hard. They're actually very constructive swimming sessions in initial training, and they just make you a better swimmer, and they build you aerobically, okay? So nothing to actually worry about when it comes to the PT. When it comes to tabbing, you start off with no weight, and then you slowly increase the weight until you get to the end weight. So they're not just going to get there and shove 20 kilos on your back, 36, 40 pounds, and go, off you go. You're going to start with no weight. Then you might start with 5 kilos, 8 kilos, 10 kilos, and depending on what trade you're going will depend on what weight you need as well. Not hard. The lessons you do, nothing arduous about them, apart from it is a lot of information you need to take in. So you need to make sure you listen, you need to make sure you ask questions, you need to make sure you take plenty of notes, and you need to fill in and read your best books every night. Once again, nowhere near impossible. Only a few percentage pass. No, there's a high percentage that pass. We don't lose that many people. So it's not hard. The way the instructors are with you now, you don't get punched, you don't get hit, you don't get sworn at, you don't get bullied, apart from the odd rogue section commander, right? Very comforting. There's no screaming, there's no shouting really, right? And it's all gradual and build up, and there's no amount of pressure put on you at the beginning. So once again, it's not that hard. So if you're thinking about joining, but you're worried, you don't need to get your application processed and in, so you can start as soon as possible, so you're in the pipeline. Exercises. This is most probably where it does get hard. Exercises in the British Army, lack of sleep. You're obviously patrolling all day, you're doing lessons out in the field all day, you're patrolling at night, conducting ambushes, you've then got stag duty to do, so you're only going to get a couple of hours sleep, you might get bumped, right? Very lack of sleep. It's going to be quite hard sleep there, especially if you're not used to it. Secondly, weather. Depending on when you're joining the army, whether it's summer, winter, autumn, spring, will also depend. If you join in the summer, early summer, and you do phase training, you're going to be perfect with the weather, depending. It's been a bit wet this year, but it's going to be pretty warm. The most you're going to have to deal with is obviously drinking plenty of water so you don't go down with heat stroke. Right, there's nothing worse, and honestly, just ask any soldier, whether they're tier 1, tier 2, Power Edge Marines, any soldier, there's nothing worse than constantly being cold and wet with a lot of wind. So if you're doing it in the summer, the worst you're going to get is the days are going to be longer, so you're going to get less sleep, because obviously sundown and sunrise obviously is when you do or sort of stand to, and when you get up and sort of you've got to wait till the night time to carry out any sort of night patrols. Obviously carrying the amount of kit you do on exercise is very hard. Webbing, helmet, ammunition, water, rations for the day, spare kit, any sort of specialised kit you need. So exercise, it does get hard. Section attacks, when you start building up to platoon and company attacks, okay? So most probably the hardest part, apart from your sort of your combat PT sessions, but combat PT sessions, bayonet, it's an hour long, 2 hours at most. You know it's going to end. If you're on exercise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nights, right, that's obviously when it does get harder. And then if you're joining in the winter, you have sort of shit out. It's going to be cold, it's going to be wet, you're going to be tired. It is crap, right? That's the hardest part. But once again, it's not impossible. So many people get through it, so many people pass. Just grizz it out for 3, 4, 5 days. You're cold, you're wet, you're tired. You get to the end, you know it's going to end. You know how long you're going on exercise for. So ultimately, is it really that hard? No. Yes, it's hard. 7, 8 out of 10 for some people. You're really pushing yourself. But it's not that hard. Joining the army is not hard. Getting in is not hard. Once again, the hardest part is getting through capita with the most probably crazy medical rules or tattoos, etc. And then you do your drill, your skill at arms lesson, NAVEX, CBRN. It's a lot of information. Not that hard. You can get through, honestly. Right? Joining the army genuinely is not hard. It was hard at times when I went through. We got thrashed at times. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Am I going to get through this? But when you look back, it's nowhere near as hard as some of the things I've done actually in regular army. Regular army, I would say, is harder than phase 1 training. Initial trade training, okay? Phase 2, doing your trade training. Depending on where you go, will depend on how hard it is. Obviously, you're in infantry, you're going to stay in Catterick and you're just going to carry on your training until you pass out. Catterick's pretty nails. Power reg, honking. Disgusting. You're going to struggle. But with the right mindset and the right training before, you're going to get past. The rest, it's not really that hard. It's a little bit more chilled. PT increases a little bit, but your physical training has increased since you've left phase 1 anyway. And it's more concentrating on your trade. So when you're on those trade courses, it's quite relaxed. They just want to get the information across to you. As long as you listen, as long as you're disciplined, nothing's really going to happen, okay? Evenings are a lot chilled. You're not getting room inspections, ironing your kit late at night. A lot of time you can leave the camp as long as you're back by 10. You pretty much get most weekends off. And you're sort of getting into regular sort of army life. You're still sort of soldier under training, so there's obviously still rules that you have to stick to. But it's a little easier than phase 1. Phase 3 then, regular army, that's when it gets hard. Standard life's easy. If you're doing a Monday to Friday, you're not on exercise, you're not on course, you're not working the weekend. Late start Mondays, standard training in the day, physical training Tuesday morning, work hard in the day, work hard Wednesday morning, sports afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, PT Thursday morning, do your day's work, maybe weapon cleaning Friday morning, do PT and you're knocked off. Easy. When it gets hard is when you go on promotional courses, PNCO, junior NCO, CARDA courses, absolutely nails, get thrashed left, right and centre. You've really got to show your skills. They're watching you like a hawk. You will get beasted. You're now stepping up to leadership level. Really, really hard. Exercises, 10 times harder in a sense than you've ever done in phase 1. You might go Kenya for 6 weeks, you might go Canada, you might go Oman. You're carrying a lot more kit. You've got proper specialised kit now. You've got all your comms equipment, you've got spare batteries, you've got more rations, more water, more ammunition. You've got binoculars, you've got laser rangefinders. Yeah, it's just a lot harder. You're carrying a lot more kit. You're in a much harder environments. Kenya, Oman, Canada. You could be going Jordan. You could be going anywhere. So that is a lot harder. There's a lot more pressure on you because you're doing a lot more technical things. The skill set is constantly increasing, getting ready for ops. So that's really hard. And then you just work-life balance can be really hard. You might go from one course to the next course. I know someone who went from JWIC, Jungle Warfare Instructors course. I know a few people went from that, honking, one of the hardest courses you can ever do, had a few days off and was straight out to Kenya for 6 weeks on exercise. The guy had a missus. He was absolutely thrashed from JWICs and then had to go Kenya. The weight he dropped from beginning of JWICs to the end of Kenya was ridiculous. So that's really hard. You're doing section attacks, company attacks, you've all sorts in 50-degree heat, full kit, body armour, helmet, a lot. You go to Brecon, you go to Otterburn, you've got to do so many exercises a year to stay in date, depending on who you are. Forward observers, we've got to go Otterburn every year for 2 weeks to make sure you stay in date. You're going down to Salisbury to practice. You're constantly out. So I'd actually say regular life, apart from when it's Monday to Friday when it's chilled, is harder than phase 1 and phase 2, unless you're most probably going para-reg, because it's most probably one of the hardest things you can most probably do going through depot. But when you actually start getting out on those exercises, you're constantly bouncing from course to course. PT in such units like para-reg 7, commando units is a lot harder as well. So yeah, but ultimately, is it hard to join the army? No, it genuinely isn't. It's not impossible. The pass rate is a high percentage. So many thousands of people do it every year. The hardest part is just getting the application in. People I speak to, I'm going to wait till the end of the year, I'm going to wait till this, I'm going to start training, then I'm going to get it in. A year passes, they still haven't got it in. Just get it in. Get your application in. Head over to the British Army website, get all the information you need. Head over to the careers office, get all the information you need. Do it now. Then get your training program in place and train. The fitter you are, the easier army life will be, whether that's training, trade training, or regular phase 3 soldier. The fitter you are, the easier life will be, because there's always PT, there's always physical sort of like tests, there's always a log run, stretcher race, tabbing, the amount of kit you have to carry in exercise. So you're an overweight person with really low cardiovascular system, lacking in strength, you're going to struggle on everything you do. The fitter guys, when it comes to course, don't have to worry about the physical assessments or the PT. You look forward to it. It's a bit of phys. You get paid to do it, and then you just got to worry about the lessons. The unfitter people, you worry about the lessons, and then you got to worry about PT as well. And by the time you finish PT, it takes you to longer to recover as well. So by the time it comes to the lessons, you're struggling a little bit more. You're more tired. You're more fatigued. So get fit first. Makes your life a lot easier. But ultimately, to answer the question, end of the video, it's not hard to join the British Army. I promise you, anyone can do it. It's really not that hard. When it gets hard is when you want to start going units PF, SF, 473, 729, the Commando Airborne units. That's when it's getting hard. When you want to go to a regular unit, it's not that hard, I promise. Thanks for watching anyway. Remember to check out our merch and our coffee over on our website. Check out Combat Fuel as well, and I'll see you in the next video.